Good evening, I'm Keisha Butts with the CTV News Update. The county is expanding hours at clinics over the next few days to boost COVID vaccination rates. CTV's Katara Jones is in Bowie with more.
The county is extending its hours and appointment availability at 3 of its COVID-19 vaccination clinics starting tomorrow. Residents can get vaccinated at the Wayne K. Curry Sports and Learning Complex in Landover, the Southern Regional Center in Fort Washington, and the Laurel Beltsville Senior Center this Friday, May 7th from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. The Curry Sports and Learning Complex will also be available this Saturday and Sunday from 9 in the morning until 4 p.m. Remember, you must make an appointment to get vaccinated at any of these 3 clinics this weekend. Residents 16 and 17 years old can also get the shots. However, they must have a parent or guardian fill out the consent form. Reporting in Bowie, Katara Jones, CTV News.
For more information, visit mypgc.us/COVID vaccine. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for Maryland. 578 people have tested positive for the coronavirus over the past 24 hours. The state's positivity rate is at 3.66%. 9 people have succumbed to the disease since yesterday. In other news, Children's National Hospital is currently pre-registering kids between the ages of 12 to 15 years old for the COVID-19 vaccine. While the FDA has not approved vaccinations for children younger than 16 yet, the hospital says it wants to be ready when this happens. You can pre-register your little one if you live in Washington, D.C. or Prince George's County. Children's National says getting the vaccine is the first step to getting back to normal.
You've masked. You've isolated, you've washed your hands, you've done the social distancing. Let's go to the next step. Let's get the vaccination. Let's get our kids back to school. Let's get back to community and being able to do community activities. Let's get together and be able to see our relatives and our friends.
To pre-register, visit childrensnational.org/vaccine form. For an Upper Marlboro mom, Mother's Day is bittersweet. Tyrese McAllister lost her daughter Ayana to gun violence back in March of 2017. McAllister is now turning her pain into something positive. She started the Ayana J. McAllister Legacy Foundation in honor of her daughter. The foundation is focused on educating Black and brown communities on gun laws and how to advocate and work with state leaders to create safer neighborhoods. McAllister credits the support she has received from the members of the Maryland Moms Demand Action Group.
Moms Demand Action is very much like that. It is a sisterhood of women and some men, but we work together for a common cause, and it is amazing watching the level of commitment of the women here in Maryland and nationwide. One of the things that most of the women there don't even know a homicide victim or don't have a personal experience, but their level of commitment, you would not be able to tell the difference between me, who has a daughter who's been killed, and a woman who I'm working side by side with who doesn't even know a homicide victim. Like, the commitment is just as strong, and I really do appreciate that.
McAllister says she plans to celebrate this Mother's Day with her family in New Jersey. A federal judge in D.C. has vacated the nationwide eviction moratorium ordered by the Centers for Disease Control. The judge ruled the CDC overstepped its legal authority when it imposed the measure during the Trump administration. The move comes as more than 100 organizations in Maryland send a letter to Governor Larry Hogan asking for a 90 to 120-day moratorium on eviction proceedings in Maryland. The organizations say tenants who are waiting for federal emergency rental assistance funds could be at risk of eviction, just as help is on the way.
The group of statewide advocates, we're concerned it could be about 200,000 people in the state of Maryland are at risk of eviction. Now we know that some landlords may not be as aggressive, but others will be. And we also know that many landlords are using the lease end as a reason for eviction. So they're just not renewing leases and terminating leases.
Randall says typically single women with children are most often evicted. You're watching CTV News. I'm Keisha Butts. We'll be back in a moment.
Right here, baby. Look. Uma.
Noah. Something more than a birthday is happening here. Once you can see it, you can help. The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
Welcome back. When students return to classes in the University System of Maryland this fall, it will cost them more. The Board of Regents approved increases to tuition and dormitory fees for the 2021 to 2022 school year. Chancellor Jay Perman cited substantial financial losses during the pandemic, due in part to costs related to personal protective equipment, COVID-19 testing, as well as lower enrollment as reasons for the increase. In-state tuition will go up by no more than 2%. Out-of-state tuition will increase by no more than 5%. While low-income Marylanders facing eviction could soon have access to counsel under a bill that passed the General Assembly this year. House Bill 18 was sponsored by Delegate Juanita Fisher. It would make Maryland the first state in the nation to give working families facing eviction the right to counsel. Fisher says it's an issue that disproportionately affects Black women.
It's also a racial equality issue as well. And when you look at the stats, Black females are 3.9%, like overall, which ends up equating to almost like 300%. They're more likely being evicted than a white male in Maryland. In my district, a lot of rentals, whether it's in homes, they don't have a rental license in the county. They did not get a license to rent. So it gives you time to figure things out and stay in your home. A lot of people is habitability issues. If your landlord hasn't fixed your toilet in 3 months, you have a defense on habitability. So there's a lot of legal defenses that tenants don't really know that they have. And a lot of big landlords have just been using our court system. Once someone's a day late, they automatically send an agent to the court. You're automatically in victory proceedings to collect rent. And I think what we're trying to say in Maryland is our courthouse is for really dealing with the tough issues like we do in every other aspect of our law. It's not to be your own collection agency.
The measure, which has yet to be signed by Governor Larry Hogan, was cross-filed in the Senate. If it becomes law, it would go into effect on October 1st. While Democrats on the state's Board of Public Works allege the Hogan administration is not forwarding contracts to the board in a timely fashion in accordance with state law. This, according to Maryland Matters. Comptroller Peter Francho and Treasurer Nancy Cobb say under the state's procurement regulations, contracts must be submitted to the board within 45 days of the date they were signed. Francho says in many cases, they received the contracts for review long after the contracts have begun their work. The governor, who sits on the board, said his administration must do a better job and blamed any slowdown on the need to fight the pandemic. All Sardi's locations were closed yesterday in honor of their co-founder and CEO. Philip Sardellis lost his battle with COVID-19 recently after battling the deadly virus since March. Sardellis was well known in the community, particularly for assistance with meals during the pandemic. The Montgomery County native and his cousin opened their first Sardi's in Beltsville in 2008. The Peruvian restaurant chain spread throughout Maryland, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, with over a dozen locations. The restaurant was even selected as a premier caterer for Barack Obama's inaugural ball. Sardellis leaves behind 4 children. Don't move. We'll be back in a moment with more news.
Debt. If you get in too deep, members of the NFCC, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, can help you put debt in its place.
Credit cards took charge of my financial life. An NFCC credit counselor helped me get back in control. I took charge of my debt.
Student loan debt followed me wherever I went. My NFCC financial advocate taught me all I needed to know. I mastered my student loan debt.
We wanted to buy our first home, but weren't sure if we were mortgage ready. Our NFCC housing counselor helped us make a plan. We're on a path to our first home.
NFCC member agencies serve all 50 states and Puerto Rico. Convenient, knowledgeable, nonprofit, financial advocates there for you.
We put debt in its place.
Get out of debt. You owe it to yourself. Connect with an NFCC certified credit counselor at your local member agency today. Go to nfcc.org/stopdebt or call 877-410-6322.
Welcome back. A Prince George's teacher receives a $1,000 gift during last night's Maryland Financial and Capability Awards. Michael Baker, who teaches financial literacy at Crossland High, is one of this year's winners. The Cash Campaign of Maryland and 2 other nonprofits hosted the ceremony virtually. Maryland Senator Obie Patterson and a student presented Baker with his award. Baker says it's an honor.
I had no idea until last night that I was the only high school winner. I just thought I was one of several teachers that won. I didn't know I was the only high school. Now, of course, there was an elementary teacher and a middle school teacher, but to know you're the only high school teacher that won, that's really special. So I got a big surprise last night.
Baker says he will probably use the money for his students to buy stock market games in the fall. Well, Maryland's last known public Confederate monument is facing another battle. Groups seeking to remove the Talbot Boys statue from Talbot County Courthouse grounds have filed suit in federal court. The American Civil Liberties Union says the statue is an outdated homage to white supremacy and is both unconstitutional and illegal under federal and state law. The ACLU of Maryland, the local branch of the NAACP, and others announced the court action yesterday. Talbot County NAACP first asked for the statue's removal in 2015, but the county council unanimously voted to keep it. The selection of the design build contractor for the Purple Line is delayed. The Maryland Department of Transportation was initially supposed to choose the contractor by June, but the timeline has now been pushed back to fall. 3 firms shortlisted in early March have now been given extra time to put together their proposals. Meantime, state officials say they're working on utility relocation and other work for the project. Purple Line Transit Partners is the consortium which will operate the line. According to Bethesda Magazine, it's still unclear when the project will be finished. Well, sports news, it's a rare feat in the Major League Baseball. When it happens, it's a tremendous accomplishment. We're talking about a no-hitter. It happened for the Orioles and pitcher John Means yesterday. Over 9 innings, Means no-hitter the Seattle Mariners and came away with a 6-0 victory.
So it comes down to J.P. Crawford. First pitch swinging, line drive, he's done it. John Means has no-hit the Mariners, and the Orioles mob him. The first no-hitter for the Orioles in 30 years. The first complete game no-hitter since Jim Palmer did it 52 years ago in 1969.
The Orioles begin their next series against the Boston Red Sox tomorrow. Well, let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 48 degrees. Friday, a chance of thunderstorms with a high near 65 and a low around 44. Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 62 and a low around 44. Sunday, partly sunny with a daytime high near 62 and an evening low around 51. And now for the community calendar. Congratulations to the Prince George's County High School graduating class of 2021. Today, students announced their post-graduation plans. The annual event highlights students continuing their education, going into the workforce, or enlisting in the military. Students are encouraged to post a photo or video to social media and use the hashtag PGCPSGrads21. And that wraps up our CTV News update. Join us again tomorrow at 4:30. Have a good night.